Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of a guy who didn't adhere to the standards of proper language, that interview Jerry Jones gave to Clarence Hill, good Lord. I mean, I know people talk like that all the time away from microphones. Real life is rated R, but Jerry Jones has been around for 35 years, and I've never seen quotes from him littered with expletives. Now, maybe that's just something, wrong side of 80, the filter goes off completely and the expletives fly. But when I saw the first headline, I thought, and I think you texted this because I agree with this sentiment, I thought it was fake.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you see that kind of language from an owner in a public setting, and kudos to Clarence Hill for getting this out of Jerry Jones, right? You have to construct an interview environment that is extraordinarily comfortable in order to get F-bombs, S-bombs, ASS, all these different things where it's like, my goodness, what in the world is going on here? He doesn't usually talk like this in front of a microphone. So especially somebody like Jerry Jones, who is kind of the epitome of, a media-friendly owner. It's just not necessarily how you usually hear him talk.
Well, and based upon reporting that appeared in Mark Leibovich's book about the NFL some 6 years ago, you ain't getting Jerry drunk. That's not happening. Jerry's literally drinking you under the bus. He's drinking you under his bus.
Yeah.
With tumblers of Johnny Walker Blue. Just tumblers full. Leibovich passed out on the bus. He could not keep up with Jerry Jones. I don't know that Clarence can keep up with Jerry Jones. So it wasn't a situation where they were 3 or 4 tumblers in to the Johnny Walker Blue. So well done by Clarence. And anyway, we know that Jerry is capable of uttering some F-bombs. And he probably uttered a few when he had to write that check, because he didn't want to write that check, but he's going to have to write some big checks to CeeDee Lamb. That kind of got lost yesterday in the shuffle of all the roster moves. We had the full breakdown and still have the full breakdown if you go to ProFootballTalk.com of the CeeDee Lamb contract, $34 million per year in new money, 4-year extension, not any phony crap on the back end. If anything, when you consider salary cap, where the market's going, by the time he gets to year 3, 4, 5, he's going to be thinking, hey, I want to rip this up and do another deal if he's still playing at a high level. So it's a good deal for the team. It's a good deal for him. And there he is signing it yesterday officially under contract for 5 years with the Dallas Cowboys. Devin McCourty and I talked yesterday about how those don't go both ways, that the team can tear it up at some point if they want to, usually after the first 2 years, sometimes after 3 years. I think this one's practically 2 years fully guaranteed, and then into year 3 they'd have some guaranteed money. They'd owe him like $7 million, but they'd be entitled to an offset. So it's 2 years and then year to year after that. But regardless, it's done, and he's gotten his payday that he was looking for. And here he is from yesterday talking about his reaction to ending the holdout and finally getting his contract in the books.
My agent FaceTimed me. He was actually it's kind of crazy because he hit me with yeah, man, this is going south, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, what do you mean it's going south? Like, it's time. Like, and then he hit me with, yeah, they're only going to try to pay you $34 a year. I'm like, well, where do I sign? I'm grateful to be here every moment of the day. This whole process was very crazy for me, as we all know. Very bittersweet. Enjoyed it all. Obviously had plenty of times to, revamp myself, physically become more prepared for the season. Granted, I wish I would have had a camp, but it's okay though. It'll work out in the back end. But very excited for the moment. Cherish every bit of it.
It's got to be so hard for a player because you're doing what's right for yourself financially, but you've been playing football your entire life. Now, all of a sudden, when it's that time of year and you're ready to go to work and you want to go to work because you know that you need to put that work in order to get better, in order to be prepared, in order to have an impact, in order to live up to that first-team All-Pro billing from last year when you had over 1,700 receiving yards, there's going to be a price to pay for not being there. You want to be there. You're feeling urgency that you need to be there, but in order to get the contract that you believe is fair, you have to put yourself in a position where it could be detrimental to your short-term interests and definitely go against what it is that you want to do. And that gets back to my point. Why didn't they identify an earlier deadline? Because once we have an agreed-to deadline and the deadline approaches, the deal's getting done. Vikings identified right before the mandatory minicamp with Justin Jefferson, and both sides were on the same page, and they got it done then. I still, for the life of me, don't know why teams at the latest won't make the deadline the start of training camp, because you're getting it done anyway. Once the two sides agree on the deadline, the deal's getting done before the deadline. Why on earth? Now, I know why, or at least I think why Jerry Jones did it. He wanted to be the center of attention through training camp and preseason and stir it up a little bit, take a little attention away from week one of the preseason. Oh, the Giants and the Patriots are playing in separate games tonight. Let's steal the attention from them. I'll say I have no urgency to sign CeeDee Lamb, and it worked. It's not going to work from the standpoint of ensuring that CeeDee Lamb is ready to go.
This is the exact problem I have with it from the Cowboys organization standpoint. When you are letting this linger for as long as they did, first of all, do you have to let it linger? Second of all, I think that it's just a bad thing. It doesn't.
Wasn't that a song?
Yes, it is. That's why.
Did you mean to do that? If you meant to do that, then that was very lame. If it's accidental, it's okay.
Once I said linger, it happened. And you know what? I should have just moved past it, but I didn't. And that's on me.
Wonderwall later?
I might. You never know. Maybe it'll be the thing that saves me. So I think what I'm trying to say about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys is that you need to be able to identify the things that are going to help your team in a better way than what they did. Right. Because I think you brought up Justin Jefferson. I think it's a great example, but I would go back to what Deebo Samuel has said a couple years ago after he went through his contract situation and he was not in camp, and he wasn't quite ready for the season. He said that he didn't want to ever put stuff like that on film ever again. So you're not setting up your player for the success that you ostensibly want to have if you let something like this go all the way through training camp and you let it, fester and whatnot until the last week of August. I don't like it. It's just, imagine if this whole thing with Justin Jefferson had been continuing on until now. I mean, it would be the top story, but especially if JJ McCarthy gets hurt, right? And you need him to be able to have those reps with Sam Darnold. Those are things that are really important. And even if the offense is the same, the quarterback is the same and all that, and CeeDee Lamb knows the offense, right? It's not that that's going to be new for him, but every single year you get your body ready, you get your mind ready, you get ready with all the new teammates you have around you so that you can be successful in the regular season. That happens most of the time in August, late July and August. It is an important time. And so because the Cowboys waited so long to get this done, now CeeDee Lamb can say all he wants, that he fully expects to have the same type of caliber season and all that. But I don't think that that's a fair expectation to put on him from all of the rest of us, because we've seen what happens when players are not in camp and then they have to go out and try to execute. It's different. Being in football shape is different than being in shape, just generally. It really is.
And you mentioned the J.J. McCarthy injury. This occurred to me yesterday when Devin and I were talking about it, and there was never a point to really bring it up because there were so many different things to unpack about the CeeDee Lamb contract. But they had the Deron Bland injury over the weekend, and they're not going to have one of their top defensive players for 6 to 8 weeks with the stress fracture in his foot. I just wonder whether that caused any acceleration of this, that they needed something positive. They need to, and I don't know, maybe it was just enough to nudge them to now all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency. I mean, I kind of sensed when Jerry Jones had nothing to say about CeeDee Lamb after the Chargers game on Saturday that maybe this is finally moving toward a conclusion, because this is a guy that's never at a loss for words on any subject, profane or otherwise. So and maybe you just feel that, even though it's a different position, we lost a guy who's important to our success this year. When you don't go all in to improve your team, you need all the guys that did well last year to do well this year. And now Deron Bland isn't going to be back until who knows when. And is he going to be the same with the stress fracture in his foot? I mean, it's kind of an important part of the body when you're a defensive back and you're moving around and you're cutting all the time. So I don't know. Maybe that accelerated the timetable by a little bit. Maybe this wasn't going to be a Monday thing. Maybe it was going to be a Friday thing, because there isn't much of a difference. They'll have some practices this week. Yes, the full-blown preparation for week 1 will happen, kind of around the weekend and into next week. But regardless, this, I think, was the general time frame all along, and you and I agree, and I think others feel the same way. It's a mistake. You're blowing an opportunity to get your guy ready. It helps the team. It helps you. And I don't know whether the Cowboys just didn't think he had the will to stay away. Did they misplay it by setting that deadline when they did because they thought he would show up? I don't know. But I think everybody would have been better off if they'd have done it earlier. And they knew this wasn't a surprise. Like Ezekiel Elliott, the year he held out, he was there for the entire offseason program and then didn't show up for training camp. CeeDee Lamb wasn't there for anything. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.